morning, and welcome to Tuesdays with the Pilgrim. Today we continue our journey with Greatheart, Christiana, the boys, their spouses, and their children, along with a few other companions they picked up along the way, with Chapter 33, with the shepherds on the Delectable Mountains. This done, they went forward until they came to the Delectable Mountains, where Christian and Hopeful had been refreshed by the diversity of beauty to be enjoyed there. They also became acquainted with the shepherds, who welcomed them to the mountains, just as they had welcomed Christian before them. When the shepherds saw so many people following Greatheart, they were already well acquainted with him, they said to him, "Greatheart, you have a large company with you. Where did you find all of them?" Then Greatheart replied, "First, here's Christiana and her family. Her sons and their wives have moved steadily, as by a compass their lives did steer, from sin to grace, else they'd not be here. Next there's old Honest, who's on a pilgrimage, and ready to halt too, with the advantage of a heart that's true. And so does Feeble Mind, who was not willing to be left behind. Despondency's a good man, now set free, and much afraid, his daughter you can see. May we now find provision here, or must we go farther? Let us know on what we can trust." The shepherds replied, "This is a pleasant group. We welcome you here, for we have provisions for those who are feeble, as well as for those who are strong. Our prince is concerned about what is done for the least of these, so infirmities can in no way limit or hinder our hospitality." So they took them to their palace door, and said to them, "Come in, Mr. Feeble Mind. Come in, Mr. Ready to Halt. Come in, Mr. Despondency, and Miss Much Afraid." Then one of the shepherds said to Greatheart, "We call these by name, since they are the ones most prone to draw back. But as for you, and the rest who are strong, we leave you to walk in freedom to which you are accustomed." Then Greatheart, addressing the shepherds, said, "On this day I can see that the grace of God shines in your faces. I can see that you are my Lord shepherds, indeed, for you have not poked or prodded these who have infirmities, but rather have strewn their way into your palace with flowers, just as you should." So the weak and the feeble went first, followed by Greatheart and the rest. When they had all been seated, the shepherds asked those who were weaker, "What would you like to eat?" For it was their habit to warn those who are lazy, comfort those who are frightened, take tender care of those who are weak. So they made them a feast of easily digested foods that were as nutritious and nourishing as they were delicious. After the pilgrims had finished eating, they retired for the evening, each to his respective room. Chapter 33, Part 2, Sightseeing on the Mountains. When morning had come, the mountains were lovely, and the day was clear and bright. The shepherds were accustomed to showing some of the magical sights of the area to the pilgrims. So after the pilgrims had refreshed themselves and were ready, the shepherds took them out into the fields and showed them the same sights they had shown Christian. Chapter 33, Part 3, The Man of Faith. Then they took them to see some new places. First they went to Mount Marvel, from which they could see a man in the distance, who was tearing down the hills by his sword. They asked the shepherds about him, and they answered that he was the son of the man named Great Grace, of whom you have heard in the records of Christian's pilgrimage. They explained that his purpose in being there was to teach pilgrims that they can set their faith against whatever difficulties may confront them. They can topple them by faith. "I know him," said Greatheart. "He is a great man." Chapter 33, Part 4, The Man in White. After this, they took them to another place called Mount Innocent. They saw a man there who was completely clothed in shining white, and they saw two other men also, prejudiced and ill-will, who were continually hurling dirt at him. But interestingly, whatever dirt they threw at him would, in a short time, fall off again, and his garment would look as clean as if no dirt had ever been on it. The pilgrims asked what this meant, and one of the shepherds answered, "This man's name is Godly Man, and his garment shows the purity of his life. Now those who are throwing dirt at him are the kind that hate his good deeds. But as you can see, the dirt will not stick to his clothes. So it will be with whoever lives a life of true purity and innocence in this world. Whoever would try to make such people dirty labors in vain, for God, after a little while, will make your righteousness shine like the dawn, and the justice of your cause like the noonday sun. Chapter 33, Part 5, The Generous Man. Next they took them to Mount Charity, where they showed them a man who had, lying in front of him, a bundle of cloth. From this cloth he made coats and garments for the poor, who were standing around him. Yet his bundle of cloth never diminished in size. "What does this mean?" asked the pilgrims. One of the shepherds replied, "This is to show you that he who has a heart to help the poor will never run out of resources, for he who refreshes others will himself be refreshed. And the flour that the widow used to make bread for the prophet did not cause her to have any less in her barrel." Chapter 33, Part 6, The Black Man and the Fools. After this, the shepherd took them to a place where they saw two men, one named Fool and the other Wantwit. The two were busily washing a man from Ethiopia with the intention of making him white. The more they washed him, however, the darker he appeared. "What does this mean?" asked the pilgrims. "The fool will attempt to change a person to make him like himself, not realizing that God is the originator of our differences. True righteousness has nothing to do with the outward appearance, but it is of the heart. Every effort to effect change in a person that disregards the need for change in the inner nature of the heart results in frustration and even greater unrighteousness. So it was with the Pharisees, and so it continues to be with all hypocrites." Chapter 33, Part 7, The Terrifying Byway to Hell. Then Mercy said to Christiana, "If it is possible, I would like to see the hole in the hill that is commonly called the byway to hell." Christiana revealed Mercy's desire to the shepherds, and so the shepherds took them to the door, which was in the side of a hill. Upon opening it, they told Mercy to listen for a while. So she listened and heard someone crying, "May my father be cursed for holding back my feet from the way of peace and life." Another was crying, "Oh, that I had been torn to pieces before the time that my soul was lost." Yet another cried, "If I could only live again, I would surely deny myself rather than come to this place." Then it seemed as if the earth itself groaned and quaked for fear under Mercy's feet. Her skin turned an ashen color, and she came trembling away, saying, "Blessed are those who are delivered from this place." Chapter 33, Part 8, Mercy receives the unique looking glass. Now after the shepherds had shown them all these things, they took them back to the palace and provided them with all they had in the house. Mercy longed for something that she saw in the house, but was too ashamed to ask for it. Her mother-in-law, seeing that she did not look well, and concerned especially because Mercy was pregnant, asked her what was the matter. "There is a special looking glass hanging in the dining room," she replied, "and I cannot get it off my mind. I don't understand why, but I do so earnestly desire to have it, that I fear I may miscarry if I cannot obtain it." "I will mention your desire to the shepherds," said Christiana. "They won't deny your request." "But I am ashamed of what these men will think if they know how I have longed for it," said Mercy. "No, my daughter, it is no shame. It is a virtue to long for such a thing as that." "Then, mother, if you will, please ask the shepherds if they are willing to sell it." Now the looking-glass was of great value, 1 in 1,000. If turned one way, it would show the exact image of the person holding it. If turned another way, however, it would show the very face and likeness of the Prince of Pilgrims himself. I have talked with those who know, and they say that they have seen the very crown of thorns upon his head by looking into that looking-glass. They have also seen the holes in his hands, in his feet, and in his side. Yes, that looking-glass has such excellence that it will show him to those who earnestly desire to see him. They will see him whether he is living or dead, whether in earth or in heaven, whether in a state of humiliation or in his exaltation. and whether it is coming to suffer or coming to reign. So Christiana went to the shepherds, knowledge, experience, watchful and sincere, and said to them, "One of my daughters is longing for something that she has seen in this house. She is expecting a child, and she wants this thing so deeply that if denied by you, she fears she might have a miscarriage." Call her," said Experience. "She can help herself to whatever we have." So they called her and asked, "Mercy, what is the thing that you would like to have?" She was blushing as she replied, "The looking-glass that hangs in the dining room." So Sincere ran and got it and gave it to her. She gave them sincere thanks and said, "By this I know that I have obtained favor in your eyes." They also gave the other young women whatever they desired, and they greatly commended their husbands because they had joined with Greatheart in slaying giant Despair and demolishing Doubting Castle. The shepherds put a necklace around Christiana's neck, and they did the same for her 4 daughters-in-law. They also put earrings in their ears and jewels on their foreheads. Chapter 33, Part 9. The shepherds send them on their way. When it was time for the pilgrims to travel on, the shepherds let them go in peace. They did not give them the warnings and instructions that they had given Christian and Hopeful, however, because Greatheart was their guide. They knew that he was well acquainted with the dangers on the way, and so could more appropriately warn them when danger was approaching. Also, by the time they needed to put them into practice, Christian and Hopeful had already lost the instructions and warnings the shepherds had given them. So this present group had an advantage over the others. They went out from there singing this song, "O see what a fitting stage has been set for relief of pilgrims who this world roam, and how they've received us without regret, who make the other life our goal and home. Whatever they have they're willing to give, that we, though pilgrims, may joyfully live. And upon us, too, such things they bestow, that show we are pilgrims where'er we go." And that's the end of Chapter 33. Next week we'll pick up with Chapter 34, Remembering Turn Away. Until then, take care, stay safe, and God bless.